We're talking about the fact that sexual predators come in all shapes and sizes. They're not just in trench coats hanging out by the schoolyard. They're not people that follow you to the parking lot. Some of them are in white coats, and they use that assigned authority and your vulnerability to prey upon you. That's a whole other level of exploitation. And that's absolutely, I think, the worst. I'm curious, you guys in the audience have been listening. I know some of you have been reacting. Comments or questions?
Hi, I'm Riley, and many of us here in the audience today are students at UCLA, and we are a part of the institution that has wronged all of you, and it's appalling to hear how you feel and what's happened to you, and if any other students are watching, it's important that you use your voice as a student, because you are a big source of the revenue of these institutions, to stand up and say, we won't take it, and the people we're supposed to protect need to be protected properly.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, and I'm glad to hear that you feel that way. Because UCLA is a fine institution in so many ways, and it's terrible when you have someone like this that gives it a black eye. This shouldn't be tolerated, and the students should be outraged by it. And they had a class action suit to dispose of tons of these.
These cases are not appropriate to resolve through class actions. They involve individuals who have been severely harmed, and that harm goes on for the rest of their lives. It's not something as simple as, a broken piece of equipment or something, a consumer issue. It should not be handled. These women should each be individually heard in court, and their cases should be heard in that manner.
There was a similar case at USC where there was a class action and then individual settlements. The LA Times did a big expose on this, that the average result for women who were part of the class action was $11,000. And the average outcome for women who had their own private lawyers, $1.2 million. And so it's just obvious that these class actions are great for the defendants and they're great for the lawyers who put them together. But in terms of the actual victims, not so much. Better go consult your local attorney before you just sign up for a class action.
And I think in our case, there was even conversations about the majority of the victims are African-American men. We will never value your bodies as much as young white gymnasts or privileged gymnasts. And I think there needs to be, one, how the audacity of an institution to put a value on my rape, or to even compare my rape with her rape, because each of us deal with it separately. I think we all should be able to have our say. And when you go into a class action, it's Jane and John Doe's, it's voiceless, faceless, nameless victims. And I think that's why we're all here today, so that you can see our faces, so that I can look like, ultimately Michigan raped the son of my mother, the brother of my brother, the father of my daughters. And so we need to humanize victims, no more putting these monikers of Jane and John Doe's, so that we can have more of a say, so that we can stop these institutions.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.